Hope all is well with you all out there. Wanted to post another Get Me Through Wednesday, where we talk about the idea of being uncomfortable. I think with the things that took place last week, as far as um, a young black man being killed in Louisiana, and then within 24 hours, another one being killed in Minnesota, and unfortunately, the time right after that to where you have 5 police officers in Dallas being shot and killed. I think we're operating in an attitude or in a system of being uncomfortable. Me being someone who is friends with a very diverse group of folks, to where I have different cultures of people who are friends of mine. I was uncomfortable with having to have that discussion with some of them, but I was even more uncomfortable with the idea that I didn't have more of my diverse group of friends that reached out to me. Um, I'm operating in uncomfortableness. Uncomfortable for the simple fact that, as I shared with the church on Sunday, when you look at um, my background and others, I've done everything right, but yet and still I have to be uncomfortable because of the skin that I'm in, the color of my skin, the hue of my skin. So to have that opportunity to be in a setting to where you are uncomfortable can be a little bit strange. It can stretch you a little bit. But what I want to do today is just say that I feel like there are others out there that are also uncomfortable. Uncomfortable with the idea that we still live in a society in which we are judged by our skin color and not by our character. Uncomfortable with the idea that we can have those that are still operating in the ideology of racism. Some of these folks run companies, some of these folks run our government, some of these folks are in very powerful positions. Most of all, some of the folks that are uncomfortable with the idea of race also operate in our church. As Martin Luther King said, Sunday mornings is probably one of the most segregated times of the week. So with being uncomfortable, uncomfortable is something that I think we operate in, and sometimes we've gotten numb to it. We get uncomfortable in our relationships. We get uncomfortable with not being able to express to our partner how we feel or what we're thinking or what we're going through. Being uncomfortable sometimes is how we operate when we go to work. We sit in the parking lot before we go in because we're uncomfortable walking into a place to wherein we are still evaluated, sometimes not based on our performance, but we're evaluated on how we operate in the office politics, if you will. So I just wanted to give you a little something today. Uncomfortableness brings us to the point to wherein we can have a conversation. That conversation can lead to understanding about how I feel, understanding about your point of view, understanding about some of the things that I deal with, understanding what it means to be in my shoes and to be in my skin and to be in my context. And at the same time, conversation leads to changing the narrative, or at least understanding the narrative from different points of view. So not only does uncomfortableness lead to conversation and understanding, it also leads to some area or some time of forgiveness. I'm not saying that I'm ready to forgive how this nation has treated those of us who are of darker hue, but I am willing to have a conversation. I am willing to deal and practice some understanding. And ultimately, when we deal with a conversation, when we get to the point where we can understand, we are led to forgiveness, and forgiveness leads to reconciliation. Until this country deals with the sin, because it's not necessarily race, it's not necessarily color. This nation has to deal with the sin. And from my biblical background, it's not until you address the sin that you can even work toward the healing process. Everybody dealt with uncomfortableness. Job was uncomfortable, and you see what happened. Jeremiah was uncomfortable. Paul was uncomfortable. Most of all, Jesus Christ was uncomfortable. That's why he was able to go to the hill and say, Father, let this cup pass from me to thee, because he was uncomfortable. But in each one of those instances, when they were uncomfortable, change happened because they decided to go forth into it and lean into it. So I just want to encourage you today. Have a conversation. Practice some understanding. Understand that ultimately we got to get to forgiveness, because on the other side of forgiveness is reconciliation. It's okay to be uncomfortable. Just don't stay there. I'm Pastor Said, and I'm out.